Hello everyone, welcome to Overcast, where two confused esports commentators try to make sense of competitive Overwatch. I'm JKaplan, joined by Mitch, Leslie, or also known as Uber. And before we do actually jump fully into this show that we're coming up with, why don't you talk a little bit about ourselves really quick. I'm JKaplan. I am previously known for doing LCS back at the League of Legends Championship Series, and after that doing some Counter-Strike Go. Mitch, you're actually a new addition to ESL.
Haven't been here for very long. No, actually from Australia, did a fair bit of CSGO and League of Legends stuff over there. Currently the host of the Wargaming.net League Europe here at ESL. So today, obviously, we want to break down Overwatch as well. We've seen a lot of videos out there. A lot of people have been producing some great content. But what we specifically are interested in is esports. We want to see how Overwatch sort of works into esports. So today, what we're going to talk about is what is Overwatch? Why is Overwatch different to other titles out there, FPSs? Is there a need for something like Overwatch? Is there a niche in the industry in terms of esports? And why would Overwatch be something that people actually want to watch as an esport?
Yeah, let's kick it off with actually talking about what exactly is Overwatch. Overwatch is an upcoming multiplayer first-person shooter in development by Blizzard Entertainment. The game emphasizes cooperative gameplay using a cast of various heroes, each with their own abilities and roles within a team.
And this has been called, by a lot of people, a class-based FPS. So, you know, a kind of game as well with an arena shooter aspect. There are different classes. You can play different ways that you can play inside those classes and characters. The game style as well is continuous. It's flowing. It's just sort of unbounded gameplay. It's not round by round. It's more so dynamic, and the rounds themselves are restricted more so by time limits. But it's always changing. The game state is super dynamic. Players have to have an awareness not just about who they're killing, who they're shooting at, but also what's happening on a larger scale.
Yeah, we should also keep in mind it's a very fast-paced game as well. It's not you're just going to sit back the entire time waiting. There's a lot of attacking, there's a lot of defending, and a lot of strategy that goes behind it when you're actually playing the game or even watching. So why is Overwatch different? What else does it really bring to the table?
Well, first of all, I mean, as a shooter game, you might think that aim is very important. It's everything in this game, but it's actually not. Aim is only one part of the game. There are a lot of different ways that you can play Overwatch, even if you're not an absolute aim star.
Yeah, one thing that's great about Overwatch in general is the fact that it doesn't necessarily rely on one thing, like you're saying, aim. You don't need to be amazing at aim like in Counter-Strike Global Offensive or Call of Duty. You don't need to have that perfect sense to perform well, to be successful. You can have a great strategy sense like in MOBA games like League of Legends or Dota 2. If you have a great mind behind your aim, you can be one of the top players in the entire competitive scene.
There's a lot to it, of course. Think of some characters like Symmetra, who's a support character. Her actually plasma rifle locks onto people. You don't actually have to aim it directly at them. Or Reinhardt, for example, who's swinging that massive hammer around. I mean, sure, you have to aim a little bit there, but there's a lot of room to move if you're not a hardcore FPS player.
And you look at characters like Pharah, where you don't necessarily need to hit someone directly, you need to hit around them. And not to mention, just based off that alone, you can broaden that to zone control by hitting one area completely, like in a doorway or such. You can keep the enemy team back, keep them from actually pushing through, or else they'll take too much damage.
So there really is something for everyone in Overwatch, and there's an incentive as well for people to, you know, find their favorite character and master that one. You know, not unlike other MOBA titles. In fact, you know, look at League of Legends. A lot of people have their main, you know, that appeals to them. The playstyle is what they enjoy, and the same goes for Overwatch.
Exactly. I mean, if you're one of those tank players, well, you have Reinhardt you can play. There's a plethora of characters you can actually pick up. If you want to play support, well, you got many there to choose from as well. Assault as well. There's just so many different directions you can go with what you want to play, and luckily, which is nice about Overwatch, you're not limited to that one character. You think of what, you know, Team Fortress 2, you know, that classic game out there. You're not only going to be able to play like the Soldier if you want to be kind of offensive, or maybe the Scout if you want to be fast-paced and dodgy. You can play so many other characters that fit that same kind of role.
And right now in Overwatch, and what we've seen from the first few videos and obviously the previews we've seen, you can change mid-round as well. You can change after dying your characters, and that allows you to mix things up as well, keeps it dynamic and interesting. But let's talk about individual skill in this game versus the teamwork aspect.
Yeah, there's really a lot that goes into that, because you can be, you know, you're fakers if you're a League of Legends fan out there. You can pretty much carry a game yourself if you know how to play really well. But when you play against a team who's on the same kind of level, there's no way you can really pull it off. You need to have a strong team behind you, a strong mind, like a shot caller, to really kind of be the puppet master behind your team to, you know, to be successful, to actually take these victories, to take these objectives and pick up a win.
Yeah, it's super objective-based gameplay. It's not enough to just get kills. Yeah, sure, kills can lead to taking these objectives, but they always have to be the primary focus. Sometimes it's better not to fight. Sometimes it's better to focus on where you are on the map, escorting that payload, taking that control point.
And of course, there's also a lot of distinct characters that provide many diverse strategic approaches when coming to this. If you want to be really aggressive to push really heavily, Reinhardt might be the exact character you want to play, the exact hero to help your team actually push through into an area. If you want to be someone who can be sneaky and potentially just kind of gank someone, well, Reaper's right up there as well. You can kind of use that teleportation ability, get behind or get above an enemy, come in from behind, pick them up quickly, and not to mention with your passive working off that, you get healed and you're all good to go for the next fight.
So you've made your game, you produced this shiny, impressive FPS title, but you want millions of people to play it and even more to watch it. You want to make it an esports title. You've got to ask yourselves, is there a need or a niche in the esports industry for a game like this, and what else is out there to compete?
Thing is, it's been a very long time since we've had a new shiny game coming out in this kind of mode. We had Enemy Territory, Team Fortress 1, and then 2, and they all kind of left holes to be filled in the esports world. Currently, we have quite a few games out there actually competing for this maybe top esports spot in this kind of genre. You've got Overwatch, you've got Dirty Bomb, Battleborn, and Battlecry, all trying to fill this same role at the same time. But with all these games being in alpha or even beta, they haven't been released just yet to be that forerunner.
And it's important as well, we say this niche hasn't been filled in esports for years, and now as esports has taken off, if you think back to the competitive Team Fortress 2 days and stuff like that, it didn't blow up in the same way that a lot of titles are nowadays. True. And there's tons of reasons for that as well. You can think of developer support, prize pools, the incentive for players to keep playing. Yeah,
incentive is, I think, the key factor in that. When you look at, currently the prize pools out there, Dota 2, $18 million. Look at, any CSGO major you have out there, that's $250,000. Back then, obviously the prizes weren't the same for CS, but you still had a reasonable amount of money that made people want to play. In games like TF2 and Enemy Territory, obviously the prize pool wasn't that big, but with so much money being invested now into this, you would think it's going to be more of a staple. People can actually make a living off games like these and playing competitively week in and week out.
And Blizzard have made a habit of pumping a lot of money, time, resources into making their games accessible for everyone, whether it's watching or playing. So that's definitely a good sign for Overwatch. I mean, if you think of the current big three esports sort of genres, MOBAs like League of Legends and Dota 2, RTSs like StarCraft 2, and FPSs like Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, it's almost like Overwatch combines some of these elements that will make them successful.
Yeah, quite a few. Well, you got strategy from games like MOBAs, that whole factor, as well as RTSs with a little bit of micromanaging in there if you're the puppet master for your team. But then you have the FPS aspect, as we were talking before. Not necessarily reliant on your aim, but it sure as hell better be good at aiming if you actually want to pick up any of these wins and pick up any big tournaments.
So these games definitely, Overwatch definitely brings together these elements that have made games in the past popular. Bring them together in a mixing pot, mashing them together, and I guess we're expecting to see some success come out of it.
Now we should talk about why can competitive Overwatch be something that you actually want to watch. There's a lot of factors, but the first one we're going to talk about is all the fresh new content coming into the game.
Well, I mean, Blizzard has already hinted that they'll be bringing out lots and lots of new heroes, as they're called. And already, in fact, a couple days before we've shot this, Roadhog and Junkrat have been brought into the game. Their teasers come out, fantastic clip, just to show off some of their abilities as well. And we can assume there's going to be more content than Blizzard are going to continue to feed into the game. New maps, new game modes, and definitely those new heroes to keep the game feeling fresh and new.
Not to mention the meta alone. That's one thing that kind of stagnates over time. You look at League of Legends, some people are saying that's gotten kind of boring with how the game just kind of resulted over the past few months and years. But with this, with new content, with new maps being added in most likely, with new game modes potentially, and all these new heroes, it's going to be good to watch. Meta's always going to be changing, and there's going to be a lot of twists come into the game.
And one thing I think that I love about Overwatch is, again, like we talked earlier, is the instant gratification and sometimes the way that people identify with their favorite heroes. Now, expand this to esports, how people identify with their favorite teams as well. You're invested in it when you're watching it. You want your team to win just purely on the virtue because you like them. You like the heroes they played. You like the teams that are playing in those games.
Exactly. You think of Fake over in League of Legends. You think of Twist of Fate. You think of Orianna. You think of any strong AP mid laner. He plays it. You think of Counter-Strike. You think of like a lurker role. Or actually, no, let's go a little bit more specific. You think of an Opper. You're going to think of the big namers. You're going to think of JW. You're going to think of Guardian. You're going to think of Skadoodle. I'm not sure if you actually know any of these Oppers, but they're huge names within the community, and everyone out there knows exactly who they are. So if you see someone playing Pharah, and you're like, well, that's my favorite character, and damn, he's good at it, you're going to want to root on that person.
And to be fair, like, nothing is better than a good storyline in esports. It's what we always want to create. It's what me and Jason obviously do here at ESL. It's what we're doing all over the world. And Overwatch is great for that as well. Even just inside the games, the way the game works, you get these climactic moments here when you're trying to push through, when you have these bottleneck scenarios and teams are just trying to, you know, get past the checkpoint. So many exciting parts of the game where, you know, things could just be turned on their head. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the thing is, we played it back at Gamescom in August, and we saw this as well. We saw this as like a kind of a newbie way, where we have these kind of pseudo bottlenecks that because we didn't know the map, we didn't know the characters fully, that would be created. But when obviously things get fleshed out, people play more competitively, they know the maps inside out, they know the characters inside out, they'll know when it's time to push, they'll know when it's time to defend. And as casters, that's really easy to kind of say, well, now we look at the current status. They have to defend this point, they cannot afford to lose it, and the enemy team, they have this character, this character, this character, this character set up perfectly to attack, and let's see how it goes. And you have all the action going off, and it creates, like you said, a great storyline, creates a lot of action for people at home to watch, and really gets people invested.
And of course, when there's so much stuff going on, it's complex, there's combinations of heroes and strategies, there's a great analytical side for us to draw on as well, much like you did, of course, with the LCS. You know all about the numbers and the stats and how things actually happened as opposed to what was happening, what was exciting people. So all those elements here is going to make Overwatch just purely exciting to watch, whether you're in the arena or at home in front of your PC.
And there's still so many things to learn. I mean, again, there hasn't been that much access out there for people, not too many videos, but figuring out the synergies between characters, you know, the synergies between this hero and that hero, and hopefully when we do have access to the game and we're able to put out more content related to that, we'll be able to show you some of those synergies and how they can really work well together in a team or against a certain composition.
So I think people now know why exactly we're excited about Overwatch eSports. Well, guys, that about wraps up our first video here at the Overcast, and we hope that we maybe got you guys thinking and maybe a little bit excited about what Overwatch eSports is going to be like. If you've got something to say or to add or to discuss, put it in the comments section below. We'd love to read it. You can also tweet to us, of course, at UberShouts and at JKaplan, and keep your eyes peeled for some more videos coming out as well. We'll be trying to do this fairly frequently, keep content coming at you guys and give you guys a little bit of an idea of how Overwatch eSports is developing. But for now, we'll see you next time.